All right, the time is now 6:30. I will call this meeting to order. If you'd all please join me in standing in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gary Salvoin.
Here.
Don Cavella.
Here.
Ted Demain. Adrian Ferrari. Here. Tom Sinkwitz. Linda Fedor.
Here.
Keith Shue. First order of business is the review and acceptance of the minutes from our previous meeting. There is one correction I would like to make right away. On the last section, C, discuss BOE and town budgets. The current mill rate is not 20.36, it's 28.03. Any other corrections that need to be noted?
Yeah, so I've got a question. When does Ted get coming off?
Oh, that's right. That is not, yes, that is not an alternate. That correction needs to be made. Somehow that got switched. And it should be noted that Linda is the alternate. Any other corrections? Any other questions? All right, so we have three.
I will be accepting it.
With the corrections, okay. Motion has been made by Don to accept the minutes with the corrections stated. All those second? Do I have a second? Adrian seconds it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Our first and primary order of business tonight is a presentation of the proposed budget for the Plainfield Police Department. And at this time, I would like to introduce very fashionable police chief, Mario Arriaga.
And I need my pizza.
It's not Friday.
I need like, that's right, Friday's a pizza. I appreciate, thank you very much for allowing me to speak today. I should be brief, probably maybe 2-3 minutes, or maybe 40, 45, 50. There's only about 50, 52 PowerPoint slides. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. We'll go through one by one. But what I did is, I went through every line item, and as what you know on the budget is I break down each line item because I don't want to come back and be like, okay, what are you putting in this line item? Yeah, it may say vehicles, but what's inside vehicles? Or it may say computers, but what is really inside computers? Where's that money really going? So basically you see each line item is broken down to quite a bit, so you know where the money's going and where the taxpayers know the money's going. Our first item, obviously, is the department head. The department head is myself. I manage, obviously, the overall administration and operations of the PD. I establish goals, directions, and activities within the PD. My job is to make sure that we have an annual budget based on our priorities and our goals. I also act as the liaison for other departments, to include local and state agencies, as well as fire, etc., and also criminal justice. I manage both sworn and civilian employees. The department has approximately 27 to 30 total employees. Why do I say approximate? Because that can fluctuate. It obviously depends on dispatchers, depends on other civilian personnel, whether it be support staff. So that can fluctuate and change throughout. And you'll see that some add-ons throughout this presentation. It is a contractual increase, and that is the contractual increase from the previous fiscal year. If anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate.
One quick question.
Yeah.
Are you going to have a printout of this PowerPoint?
I can put one.
When you say total employees, how many of them are cops?
Right now, 17, because we have 3 openings that we're in the process of filling.
When you say 17, are you including anybody
Yes,
maybe in school or whatever?
that is correct.
So it's a total of 17 no matter where they are right now.
Right now, today, 17.
And you have openings for how many?
3.
And are you advertising for that?
That is correct. That is correct. So we have a hiring process that is going on as we speak right now. Next line item is the Deputy Chief of Police. He's obviously the second command of the department. When I am gone or away on training or even on vacation, he does assume my duties in my absence. He does become the command of the police department and is able to make those decisions, those day-to-day operational decisions. He is the designated training officer. He coordinates all training for the department, both civilian and sworn. He carries out all orders that are given to him by me. The members of the department report directly to him. We have a sergeant, like the sergeant is here today. Anything that takes place, the sergeant must go to the deputy chief, who in turn comes to me. And I get into that because a lot of people don't understand how the chain of command works at a law enforcement agency, but I have a slide to kind of show it, so that way hopefully it will answer any questions. Investigator. So if anybody makes a complaint regarding any employee, whether it be something that an officer did wrong, or maybe the officer wasn't nice to me because he stopped me and gave me a ticket, we have to investigate every single complaint that comes in, no matter how minute or how major that complaint is. And it's a lengthy process. His increase is contractual, and that's the increase from last year. Administrative office assistant. It's kind of like a fancier word for like the secretary, but I can't call her the secretary because she doesn't like that. The PD has one administrative office assistant. She's a full-time employee, and these are just some of her tasks. A lot of people are like, well, what do you need one for? She does accounts receivable, accounts payable, she does uniform and sick time payout, she does budget preparation, she deals with our cash box, she does case records, pistol permits, court paperwork, deposits, freedom of information requests, any type of litigation issues she has to prepare. She's the meeting note taker, and she does our NIBRs, which is our reporting. Anytime we do something, is documented. Anytime a vehicle is stolen, we just had one stolen literally an hour and a half ago. That gets transitioned, and she has to report that on a monthly basis to the state of Connecticut and the FBI. And then the FBI once a year puts out statistical data. She deals with permits, whether it be bingo permits, vendor permits, raffle permits, payroll, scheduling, and training files. She's well overworked. She's great. She's always there, and she's always dedicated to the community. I could use like 4 of her. Any questions so far at all? This is our police salaries. These are sworn officers. These are the officers. So this salary line item includes 19 sworn police officers under the deputy chief and the chief of police. That's 19 sworn under me and the deputy chief. This is an increase from the previous year of 1. You might be asking yourself, okay, well you have 3 openings now, so why do you need that extra opening? Well, just because we have the 3 openings, I am not going to settle and just say, okay, Johnny from the street here, let's just come and be a cop. It's a process. We have to find the right candidate. You have to have a clean record. You can't have any felony convictions. You have to pass a drug screening, and that actually includes marijuana. You cannot be using marijuana as a police officer. Even though it is legal, you cannot use it. You cannot carry your sidearm. It eliminates a lot of people. I am not going to just settle and just say, okay, you're going to work for the town of Plainfield and you're going to be the next cop. It's just not going to happen. Not for nothing, we don't have 35 people banging on our door to work for the Plainfield Police Department. Across the nation, we are having a hard time filling this job. What the media is doing to the police is really not right. They're making us inhuman. We're not like human anymore. Like we don't make mistakes. So we can't get a lot of these people. This is an increase for us because what we are trying to do is we are trying to become accredited through the state of Connecticut. A few years back, some of you were on the board, and the previous chief brought up, and I think he gave you some things regarding the police accountability bill. Part of that accountability bill requires that each law enforcement agency meet a process of accreditation, and it is a 3-step process. And when I get into that a little bit more, I'll explain kind of what that does. We are not passing our Tier 1 accreditation, and there's one reason why we're not. Because I can't dedicate an employee to do that job. I don't have the staffing level to do that job. I need to get there because we need to be credited. It's not a request, it is something that is required by state statute. They have yet to come out what the punishment is regarding not being accredited. It may be, and again, it could be a bill that could be passed anytime. It could be decertifying the officers, decertifying the chief of police, finding a municipality, or all the above. So it is something that, listen, if we didn't have to be accredited, great. But what agencies are doing, they are hiring accreditation managers at roughly $87,000 to $95,000 a year. Well, here in Plainfield, we as cops, or even civilian employees there, we wear multiple hats. Okay, so I understand that, you know what, it's not feasible for us to hire an $87,000 employee to do accreditation. I am trying to implement my lieutenant's position so that lieutenant can actually be the accreditation manager. He is going to wear multiple hats. He is going to assist in patrol when time permits. He is going to fill different duties when time permits. But in order to do that, I have to be able to beef up my staff. I came to you last year and the years prior to that. I said my goal at the town of Plainfield is to have my officers at 23 sworn officers. That includes myself and the deputy chief at 23 sworn officers. I brought it up year after year. It's no secret. Brought it up to the commission. You look at any type of statistical data and you will see that it will show that our officer level should be roughly at 30 to 34 based on our population, based on the size, based on our call volume. We also have to look at the ability for the town to pay and what is reasonable. I do believe that we can effectively police the town of Plainfield and properly meet the state standards with 23 police officers. I'm not coming before you and to the board and to the public and say, hey, give me 4 officers now. This is what we need to do. No, I think it needs to be a slow transition on how we properly get there. This section with this added officer is at $90,290. And what I'll do is I'll go to the next slide and you'll actually see each and everybody's salary outside of the chief and the deputy chief because we saw that in the first 2 slides.
You have a lieutenant now?
We do not have a lieutenant now.
So who would be your lieutenant?
Good question. But that is a process. So it would either be the sergeants or it would be from outside the police department. We have to make sure that we have the best qualified candidate because not saying any one of my sergeants ain't qualified, there may be some that don't want it. They want to be boots on the ground. They don't want that half administrative or that 3/4 administrative work. They'd rather be boots on the ground and be out there with the guys and the ladies every day. So that's going to dictate. And let's say we do promote one of the sergeants, well then we would have to, if we promote one of the sergeants to lieutenant, we would have to promote one of the officers to sergeant. And then we'd have to fill that. So it just keeps backfilling. So not to say again that they're not qualified, that's a good question, but they may not even want it. This right here, it is in the salary line item. It is just the canine stipend. That is to take care of the dog. Feed the dog, care for the dog. We have 2 canines. We just got our 2nd canine back. We had 2 canines, but we had to retire it because it smelled marijuana. And what happened when marijuana became legal? Well, the dog doesn't know. He knows the drugs that he's trained on, but he can't tell you that, hey, I'm smelling marijuana, not cocaine. So unfortunately, we had to retire that dog. And we just did. We just got another one finally in. It was donated by the Hometown Foundation, which was approximately $5,500. So it was free to the town of Plainfield, and we do have veterinary costs that are also donated as well. This is the canine stipend for the handlers. Sergeant Burrows is a handler here. I can assure you that this cost of maintaining the town's dog is very, very minimal. He had 2 great finds last week that his dog found. He has the patrol dog, which does tracking, bite, evidence recovery. What am I missing?
Handler protection.
The other dog, which name is Ingrid, which we did not choose that name. I say it's a bad name. We'll choose something different. It's Ingrid and it's a lab, and that dog is trained specifically on narcotics outside of marijuana. Your cocaine, your heroin, your pills. That dog's strictly trained on that aspect.
What positions are currently not filled?
3 officers.
Which ones?
It won't be
Are
listed.
the entry levels or?
It would be on the lower level because
Plus the lieutenant?
this, yes, correct. That is correct.
And you're budgeting 3 that are not currently on staff.
I am not 1. Budgeting 1 that is currently not on staff. This right here is 1 additional officer. We already budgeted for 20 last year. So I am not budgeting, at 20, when I say that, remember it includes myself and the deputy chief, and I use that bigger number. So we have 3 openings that we have yet to fill. Okay?
And you're not budgeting for the 3.
Not budgeting for the 3 of them. It's already budgeted for. This right here adds 1 additional officer, and it adds that lieutenant. This is our organizational chart, and this is our command chart. This was adopted by the Police Commission in May 27, 2021. And this is really how the orders are carried out from that aspect, from dispatch to patrol. You'll see that there's a community relations officer. We don't have one, but that's if we were to adopt one. And again, it wouldn't just be a community relations officer. It would be a detective wearing another multiple hat, and he would be our go-to for community events, community issues. Mr. Gorman, you have speeding in your neighborhood. We would direct that community relations officer to deal directly with you and set up a schedule so we can stop the cars from going 2 miles over speed in your neighborhood. Because nobody speeds in your neighborhood.
That's because Ted doesn't come down here, so we're all set.
Right. Dispatch and civilian. They are civilians. They're not sworn officers. They can't do police work. But they are like the heart of the department. When you call, this is who you get. These are the ones that tell the officers where to go. The dispatch center obviously is operating 24/7. It's split into 8-hour shifts. We have a midnight shift, day shift, evening shift. There's 1 dispatcher assigned to each shift unless a major incident happens where we call in another dispatcher. They answer both emergency and non-emergency lines. They enter data into our records management system. And like I said before, everybody at Plainfield PD wears multiple hats. They are also clerks. They file reports, they copy cases, they get them submitted to court. They do that as well. A lot of people come in, we just hired and had to replace our day shift dispatcher. Came in, they actually thought, they're going to sit down and answer the phone call and tell the cops what to do. Nothing like that. You get to do that too, but then you got to do the other 50,000 other things. This is an increase of $8,985. This can fluctuate only because the town's going to be in contract negotiations with dispatch the next couple of weeks or so. This is what the full-time dispatcher make. They're all at the same pay rate. And then we have 4 to 6 part-time dispatchers. To be honest, we have 2 right now. So if anybody's looking to apply, want a little extra money, I ask that you apply for PD. We'll hire you nights, weekends, holidays, not a big deal. These are the number of hours that they have to put in. That's how we budget that aspect. As you can see, if we get a current budget, we're not doing so well in that budget right now. So we can't get people that want to stay in the dispatch.
Full-time, but not for part-time.
Yeah, we had 50 applicants for the full-time position. But you got to remember that full-time position as well. Monday through Friday, weekends, holidays off, 7 to 3. It's a gold mine shift, right? So normally that never happens. Normally, if we had an opening, one of the part-timers would scoop that up. In this case, we didn't have a part-timer that wanted it. One of our part-timers is retired, so she doesn't want it. The other part-timer is in college. He wants to be a police officer. And one part-timer is leaving. So that eliminates all our part-time. And that's why we hire from outside for the first time, probably since early 80s.
Wow.
Police overtime. I did not change this from last year. It actually really depends on backfilling shifts, major crimes. Today, I can't tell you how much money we're spending based on overtime for the death that we have on Beechwood Boulevard. We still have 5 police officers that are still there. We've been out there since 8 a.m. A lot of those are on 16-hour shifts. Some might even be on more. It really depends on incidents. A a week or so ago, we had a human trafficking issue that required 8 or 9 police officers to investigate that as well. So it really depends on what we get for calls, depends on fatalities, depends on robberies. It's best guess judgment on this, but depending on how we're doing right now this year, we left that the same at 115,000.
Is there a maximum amount of hours a policeman can stay on the job?
So we gotta use the normally. Normally, a police officer will not work more than 8 hours outside their shift. And when I say normally is, if things hit the fan and the cop's on 16 hours and we have, let's say, an unfortunate active shooter situation, he's going, you know, and when we can clear him out, we can clear him out. So we have still 5 officers up on Beechwood Boulevard right now. We had to transition 2 of those officers out because they were on 16 and a half hours and they're coming back in at midnight. And they haven't slept yet because they already worked midnights. So they still got to get home to sleep. And you know, there's a couple of them that live 45, 50 minutes away. So they're going to be going in on 4 hours of sleep and then getting back to work.
So on the outside duty, that's paid by the contracting company?
Outside duty has nothing to do with this overtime
Right.
whatsoever. It's special duty overtime.
So when the officers are doing that, that's actually being paid by the company to reimburse their time?
Correct. Every aspect of that overtime is reimbursed, and actually town recoups more money than what's being paid to the officer.
I have a question for Kelly on that. Do you get 100% of that payday comes in? Do you have any troubles getting paid?
I don't collect that money. Noelle collects that money, and then it gets Noelle, the administrative assistant, and then she'll send it down to the finance department, and we'll deposit it in the bank.
But you pretty much get 100% paid.
Usually, yeah.
The only time I recall not being paid was probably like 4 or 5 years ago. And it was a company that owed about $10,000, and they went bankrupt. That was several years back. Obviously, it takes time. We send out bills, I don't know, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 that the contract owes. And Noel, we haven't had a problem so far this year.
So you don't want to collect some?
We collect it and then we forward it to the town. Yep. So yeah, special duty has nothing to do with this overtime lineup. This is PD driven. This is taxpayer driven right there.
Do you anticipate any underruns on your overtime this year?
On overtime?
Yeah.
No, unless we get more incidents like Beechwood Boulevard.
That would be an overrun. Do you anticipate any underruns?
On overtime?
Yeah.
Holiday pay, this is contractual. The officers get 14 holidays. 7 of those they can choose to either get paid or they can actually bank a day as a day off. If they work a day, they get paid like double time and a half on the holiday, or they only get paid time and a half and they can bank that day. This is best guess judgment depending on what the officer wants to do. 7 of those days he can collect on, and then the other you get paid off. So it's a little complicated, and really all dependent on the officer and what that officer chooses to do. Uniform allowance, this is paid out quarterly to officers that are already there for upkeep of their uniform, replacement of their uniform. And a one-time payment for any new officer is $1,200. To equip an officer that is starting out brand new, they have to pay a lot of money out of their own pocket. We use this line item too if we have damaged pants, damaged uniform. A few months back, we went to a call for a mental health issue, and when we got there, the lady threw a 5-gallon bucket of paint all over police officers. So I think it was 2 or 3 police officers. We couldn't repair it, so we had to pay for it. And it was completely all over all their clothes. This is an increase from $1,200 from the previous year. Questions? Told you, move right along. Sick day incentive. This is paid out sometimes, I think maybe once or twice a year. I get 2 questions, and it gets to be, hey, are we going to need more money for sick time payout, or are we going to need more money for education payout? Because In June, it always looks like it's either at zero or there may be a couple $100 in that line item. If you ever see a couple $100 in that line item, that means that's a positive, because this sick day incentive is paid out in January. So we can budget at the most of what it's going to cost as a sick time payout. It will never be more than that, but it could be less, because prior to the budget going into effect, the police officer can use sick time. And when he does that, that comes off the top of a sick day incentive payout. The sick day incentive payout literally takes 5 years to get to without calling in sick in those 5 years. And then you start to get paid up to 60 days, or in excess of 60 days. Sorry. Questions? And this is a decrease of $506 from the previous year. Only because we have retirees that is not here, and they don't, our officers are so young that not all of them get it. This includes dispatchers as well. And again, this is the education incentive. I think a few meetings ago, you were inquiring about the education and why it was so low. Well, that's going to be a positive run at the end of this fiscal year. It is a decrease of $400. We have 1 officer with a master's degree, 6 officers with a bachelor's degree, and 1 officer with an associate's degree. Again, that's a one-time payout in July. Supplies and expense. This is more of like a catch-all of everything from crime scene process supplies, equipment and repairs, office supplies, building repairs, dues, fees, and replacement of body armor. Body armor expires every 5 years and has to be replaced every 5 years. We do have a running grant where a body armor costs $1,000. We have a grant that pays for half of it. So the town's on the hook for $500 instead of $1,000. No increase from last year. Training and membership. This is one of the most important line items, because this is what keeps officers up to date and certified as a police officer. Years ago, a lot of trainings were free. As you know, nothing's free anymore. Trainings average between 500 to 700 a class. We have a radar certification training that costs $1,000 just for that one class. Remember that the number of officers we have to stay within that line item. This also includes mandates by the state of Connecticut. We now have to drug screen. Believe it or not, everybody always thought cops were drug screened like every year. But cops never used to be drug screened, only when they were initially hired. And then they were never drug screened again. So this time around, the accountability bill requires cops to be drug screened now every 3 years. They also require psychological testing regularly, which we only did at the beginning when we first hired. Polygraphs, that's for applicants. Not everybody passes a polygraph. Polygraphs are still used in the state of Connecticut, and you can't use them in court. But you can use them to hire officers. If they fail that, you can't hire them. But you can't use a polygraph in court. I don't know. This also utilizes our weapons, our ammo, and weapons that we have to replace. We have to qualify with our guns multiple times, so like biannually. Any new weapon that we get, we have to qualify with it, so we can't just carry it. So this gun that I'm carrying on my right hip, I'd have to qualify at least twice, and during the daytime, and with low light or no light shooting.
Where do you go for that? Do we have a facility here?
I'd love to build one in the back of the PD. That would be wonderful. No, so we have to either go where they will allow us to go. State Metal Gun Club is good, but we can't go anytime that they're hunting or they're target practicing. They don't charge us, they're very good with that, but we can't use it full access. There's other private places that we've been to that allow us access to their property to allow us to shoot on. It's really all we have, really, to go shoot.
What kind of restrictions do they have? For instance, could you put out by the fish hatchery?
Well, that'd be state of Connecticut property, and they would be frowned upon that. But if you had personal property and you could safely discharge your firearm, you could build yourself a firing range. Obviously, within a reason of houses where you're at too. Any questions? Computers and technology, obviously, we all know what happened last year. This line item includes federal and state mandated equipment, software licensing, support backup systems, body and dashboard cameras. Our records management system, computers, servers, just to name a few. We, as a town, implemented new security measures. We have dual factor authentication now. Anytime you sign into your computers, you either have to approve on your phone or use what we call a YubiKey, which is a special key design that Mr. Dumaine carries in order to plug in to allow you to have access to the system. This is a $20,000 increase from the previous fiscal year. But what I did is broke it down so you have an idea of what is actually in that line item. Everybody uses, and try not to bore anybody, but everybody uses Office 365 or Office Pro. We have to have up to 30 licensing, just in case any new members that come along. So we have to budget for 30. Protocol Network is our IT over here, Mr. Collins. If him or myself can't fix something, which we can't fix a lot, we have to get professional help, and that's what our portion split with the town to cover IT help that we can't do ourselves. Veeam, it's licensing software for backup, VMware, our wireless access that is throughout our building is a very secured network that we have. Sophos, these are basically protections for our web, our email. We also have a Sophos protection for our servers. All these numbers were given to me by Mr. Collins. The data, SASS protection, some of the stuff is way above me to really get into. Probably won't get explained to you. But when I start getting into like voice logger, all our phone calls are recorded. So we have 6 telephone lines. Those are all recorded every time you call, and it has a little tone in the back that beeps, that's recorded. It also records our radio transmissions. So all the transmissions back and forth to the police officers and to dispatch is all recorded. Nixle, the town and the PD itself split that. The town uses it for events, we use it for major emergencies. This is our portion. The next line is our dashboard and body cameras. It's a 5-year commitment. There is a minor, there is no increase, it's actually decreased from last year for that line item. We also, if a camera breaks, we also have to replace it. Broadband, fiber line, we have a direct fiber line from the town of Plainfield Town Hall to the PD that is dedicated to go back and forth. The town backs up data at the PD. God forbid something would have happened here and this was to burn. We have data stored there and vice versa. You need to answer that? I'll take a break.
If you can, that'd be great.
It goes vice versa. So we also back up here, but now we all do something different because that didn't work out for us last time because it was an open channel. So we actually also back up in the cloud. So we have redundancy backup. Our records management system, this is obviously what the town approved maybe a year and a half ago last time. This is our maintenance to make sure we stay up to date with our software. Celebrate, I actually was explaining that to Mr. Ferrari. This is when we extract equipment like your phone. Mr. Dumaine, we knew you were doing something wrong on your phone. We take your phone, we seize it, we extract all your data. Even the stuff that you delete, we get that too. Just remember.
Are you looking to maybe getting new quotes with the new fiber optics coming into town?
I think that's something huge, and we talked about
Yeah,
that.
we're looking into that.
Because that new fiber optic, especially what they're giving for the pricing, is astronomically different. 10 times better than what we're paying now. So yeah, Kyle and I are looking into that because we think now with Frontier doing all this work, and now, not for nothing, Xfinity's also doing work. Now everybody's going to be crunching their numbers a little bit harder because we can probably get better pricing now.
Competition's always good.
Yeah, I mean, what do we have? All we had was broadband. All we had, Breezeline. That's what we have, whatever changes. So that's a good thing.
It's capitalism.
VCS scheduling software. So this is a platform that we went back and forth with the town. We're trying to implement software that can be transition to ADP payroll. Last year, or beginning of this fiscal year, the town changed over to ADP payroll. Well, that is very difficult for policing because the scheduling is very different. Here at the town hall, they work Monday through Thursday. You punch in, you punch out, no problems. Well, Plainfield PD operates 24/7. Cops work 5 days on, 2 days off. They work 8 hours and 10-minute shifts. They get paid double time and a half on a specific holiday, or actually time and a half if they decide to bank the day. But they also do swaps, so that means they're swapping with an additional officer. They also take in comp time. So all this stuff doesn't just work easily with ADP payroll. The administrative assistant, she spends all day Sunday and about half the day on Monday just to try to change those items so we can somehow try to make it work, and still at times does not work. This software takes that data that we implement, digitizes our scheduling. Cops will be able to pull their schedule up on their phone, on their desktop, and what that does is it takes that data, codes it to ADP in a perfect world, codes it to ADP, and actually puts that into the ADP system.
You know, it really shouldn't be an issue because at Walmart, where my wife works, it worked 6 to 3, 7 to 4, 8 to 5, 9 to 6, and then people got 2 days off, separate days of the week, not back to back. They don't have a problem with something like
It's
that.
a billion-dollar company, and I'm sure it was designed just for that.
Well, Frito-Lay's the same way too, but
$1 billion.
Another billion-dollar company.
still.
We're dealing with what we have here, and it
I
does
mean,
not.
this is a much smaller scale. Yeah, they're dealing with a few 100,000 employees, granted. But 30 something, or whatever it is, it should be a little easy to figure out.
Maybe with your knowledge on, you can come in and help her figure it out.
Back to traffic control. I notice you don't always have somebody out there.
Correct.
Are we opening ourselves to some kind of liability in the event there's an accident or something by not having somebody out there?
No, they're still required. I know sometimes they don't, so we try to police it as best as possible. If we can't fill it because of lack of personnel, we try to make sure that they get flaggers. Doesn't always work. They try to get around the system sometimes, so that way they can save a few dollars. We're not putting ourselves because we're making sure that we're telling them they have to do this. If we can't fill your job that you're requesting, then you're going to get flaggers. You're still required proper signage. You're still required to do certain things. Do they try to get around it? That's going to be on them.
So who has the liability?
The contractor. The contractor.
They're gonna be certified flaggers.
Correct. And not for nothing, the bigger pockets are always going to rest with the municipality. So somewhere along the line, they're going to try to sue. It's just what they do. Power DMS, this is a major software. I know somebody thinks that it may not be a major software. So Power DMS, in essence, houses all our policies, all our procedures. It actually has a portion in that Power DMS that is our accreditation software that is designed for Connecticut so we can eventually get to that accreditation. Literally, this is one binder that an officer would have to carry from about 5 more on top of that if we were to get rid of Power DMS. Power DMS, it manages every single policy. I can put out a policy, Mr. Dumaine. You have to read it, you have to sign off on it, and you have to swear that you understand that policy. How can I do that? Am I going to meet with every single officer and go, here, take this, now you got to hold on to it? This software tracks every officer, how long they spent in that policy, because I can give you a policy and you can just go, I approve it. It shows me that you spent 30 seconds on that policy. I know that you did not read that policy because it is 5 pages long. We are implementing 144 new policies in the course of the next 3.5 months. That also has every single contract from the police officers and dispatchers dating back to 1978. This also has the 200 different town ordinances. Cops can't know this. They will not know every single thing. But they can pull it up on their phone and go, ordinance number 152 says no dogs on Moosa Pond Beach. I don't know if that's the right ordinance. They can pull it up and they can actually see what the fine is. It's a software that we would be very difficult to, if we didn't have to even function. Mugshot software, this is software. This is software that you actually have a correct color of a background in order to take your mugshot, or age-related mugshot. Drone, that's for drone repairs. Computer and technology contingency. If a computer goes down, keyboard goes down, monitor goes down, where do I get the money from? You have to have some sort of contingency if something happens. Could you cut this? I don't know. I mean, my IT guy says it's 10 times too low.
It is. You lose one laptop, it's $6 grand.
So, what do I do? Computer replacement, I don't need any right now. Don't need any right now. I'm not asking for any replacement right now. That's not to say one's not going to break. We replaced a lot of them as a result of the ransom. Utilities, I don't know where this is going. Everybody's electric's going up, gas is going up. This covers everything from our mobile terminal data plans to networks to equipment maintenance, lighting. We've had to replace the lighting on the PD building. Each light is $600 on those light heads. We have like 14 of them. We replaced 2 already. This is an increase of $2,045. I'm hoping that we can do it within that budget. Trying to be really, try to stay within that. It really depends on the electric rates and how things keep going up. We do have the solars on. We did a brief study on the solars. This was like last year, and we just did like kind of like a year difference. And we were saving money. I wouldn't say we're saving a lot, maybe $600 a year, but still a savings to have that on that roof. Not saying it's a lot, but it is a savings. Vehicle expenses, I don't know what gas is going to be. We calculated at $3.50 a gallon. Tires, I may go through more tires, I may go through less tires. Fuel, I know there was a question regarding fuel. Well, you budget 19 grand, you only use 15,500. I don't know exactly how much fuel I'm going to use. I can just do it on best guess judgment. This year, I think we're going to surpass that in fuel. I don't know. Can I try to do fuel savings? Yeah, I can try. Make sure the cops shut off their car, but you got to remember, I can't always do that because they have equipment that is constantly running. So they have the computers that are running, you have the in-car cameras that are running, you have the modems that are running, you have the radios that are running. That can't just get shut down. You can't just shut that down. So I went up $11,000 from this fiscal year. If you say, okay, well, can we try to cut that down a little bit? Yeah, I mean, I can take away a few $1,000s and hope to save money on fuel or hope to not have any tires. But what happens if I blow a transmission? What happens if I blow an engine? This other expenses includes basic maintenance, oil changes, tire rotations, repairs, whether it's a radiator. We replaced about 4 or 5 radiators in the Dodge Chargers. You talk to the mechanic and he will just tell you that they're just junk. It's an increase of $11,000.
Question.
Yes?
I'm looking at those numbers on the right-hand column. They don't add up to $94,000.
Oh, then I probably messed those numbers up.
These are right.
I told Burrell to look at it, but messed it up. If you look in your packet, it probably will list that right there for you.
Well, the one I have shows me 94.
Yeah, but it breaks it down, which each one is.
Yeah.
It probably breaks it down a little bit better.
It's still 94.
Correct.
But that right there is 83.
Because it didn't increase the $11,000, so the side numbers, I didn't change it. That's not what I said.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if those are your new numbers, what you're budgeting, that's $83,000.
No.
So it's not gonna-
So if you look in the packet,
Look in the book.
if you look in the packet, this is the power. This is the PowerPoint.
It should be on there.
Right.
It should be.
It should have been increased and shown on those side numbers.
Okay.
That's a typo error. Cruiser replacement. So just speaking with the first selectman, he wants to make sure that we include everything in the police budget. So I guess the taxpayers understand that this is what we're spending for the police as a whole. Normally, this line item is incorporated somewhere along the town side. It's never been incorporated in the police budget itself. But at that request, we put that in here. For the last 10 years, and maybe longer, and I could be off here, we've had 2 cruisers replaced each year. And there's reasons behind it, because you look at it and you're like, well, you know what, the car has 75,000 miles on it. Hey, that's good. It's 75,000 police miles, so do me a favor and just double it. Because, Mr. Gorman, who drives your car?
I do.
Who else?
I do.
Right. How do you drive?
Slowly.
Slow. Who drives our cars?
Police
Multiple people.
Yeah.
I go lights, I go sirens, I stop, I brake. I drive great. Sergeant Burrell, other hand, he can't drive. Well, that's a touchy subject, so.
You know, he's packing to you.
That's true. That is true too. Different people drive different ways. We are responding to calls, lights, sirens, braking, stopping. Our vehicles are designed different to try to handle that to make it safe. These vehicles are the officer's office. It's their office. They're in that vehicle. And not only that, when you get out of your car, what do you do?
Turn it off.
What do we do?
I hope you turn it off.
No, we can't. We can't. So our vehicles are, not only that, at 75,000, what about the running time, the idling time?
So here's the question. You do does more than one officer use it to set vehicle?
Yes. Outside of mine and the deputy chief. And but we rotate them out.
We have an hour meter.
Hour meter on the car?
Yeah.
I don't know how to check. Maybe first that was a slip, the
That
mechanic.
would tell us more accurately how much motor, maybe the motor's got 150,000.
His car's probably the worst because of the dog.
Huh?
His car's probably the worst because of the dog. Because the dog needs to have proper ventilation. Yeah. The dog probably should.
Well, yours is newer. Couldn't you switch?
The dog would just eat it. Any questions about vehicles? Another, I don't know what to call it. I didn't know if I should call it garbage or use rubbish. It's basically a dumpster at PD. So I use rubbish. Just checking with Kelly. She said this is what the town spends a year. Normally, we never saw that in the PD budget, but it is at the PD. It is a dumpster. That is a new line item and an increase of $1,500. That probably would change because they keep going up every year. HVAC replacement. So the PD has 3 HVAC units. One of them completely died. It was either earlier this year or it was last fiscal.
Late last fiscal.
Died. It just completely died. Had to be replaced. We got only 2 estimates, and we actually had a pretty decent price of $7,000. This still leaves 2 HVAC replacements that keep breaking down. If we don't replace these, they're just going to keep breaking down. They're 15, 17 years old, or however old they are. This is what they look like. So this is the 2 units right here. This is the side of the unit. This is inside. This is actually supposed to be straight. This broke. The mechanic had to take it, the mechanic, because we couldn't get a company to come out and fix it. The mechanic, again, wearing multiple hats, had to take this, bring it to his house, and try to fix this and Mickey Mouse this object. This right here is the wires actually catching on fire. You can't see it. Not only a safety hazard, but I think this is a telltale sign of these need to be replaced.
Are those one of the 2 that you said you're replacing, or those are 2 that are going to
Those are the 2 that need to be replaced. The other one's on the opposite side of the building.
So with 15,000, how to replace those 2?
Those 2 right there, because the other one's already been replaced. If I can get away with not replacing these and they'll last another 10 years, then why would I don't want to replace them? I save money and don't replace them. This stuff, we're not making up here. We can look at, we spent thousands of dollars on getting people to come out to repair these. They control both heat and AC and moving the air. These are, they're out the door. One of the new line items, this is 100% new line item. This has to do with having a custodian or / maintenance technician strictly for the police department. It is a part-time position. Currently, town hall employees, we get a couple hours here and there. You'll ask them, they don't have enough time to do what they have to do here. The rec department, I think, has a full-time custodian or maintenance. We are the only building that operates 24/7 and have people in and out of the building. Yet, we don't have anybody that can do the upkeep. Again, wear multiple hats. If we have a good fleet, that's something's not down, and the mechanic has 4 hours or 3 hours, we try to throw paint and fix a hole in the wall. This is what we have going on at the PD. This is the booking room right here where we process prisoners. This is what our booking room looks like. It's covered in dirt. It's nasty. This is our sally port. This drain's going to be clogged. This is our holding cell. I know some people are like, well, if you don't want to be in there, don't do the crime. Well, regardless, we still have to make sure they're in a safe environment. This is disgusting. This is dirt. This is dirt on the walls. This is corroded toilet in here. We don't have anybody that cleans them. It's not fair if somebody's in this cell and this is how they have to be. Somebody could have made that one mistake and they're arrested, and then this is where we're putting them. In fact, the District Department of Health was called as a result of our cleanliness regarding this house. It's not acceptable. This is our report room. This is our floor. We need somebody to be able to maintain our building and to be able to clean our building. We talked about it last year too. We just didn't put it in the budget. This includes that custodian and maintenance person.
So who does that now?
Not
Well,
much.
You have somebody that is not doing the proper job. So this will take care of it because then you're somebody that is dedicated to this 5 hours a day.
Dedicated. 5 hours a day.
5
5
or 7
hours.
days? 5 or 7 days?
5.
5 days.
And whatever, if we have to do Sunday through Wednesday or whatever it may be, normally we like, whatever, but it would just be 5 hours a day. We did, I did get multiple estimates on if we contracted like a cleaning company to come in, astronomical. Astronomical pricing. We talked about it, Mr. Gorman, last year when we sat and talked about it. Previous year, the police pension, the pension line item was on the town side in pensions. If you press the first selectman, you want to move it to the PD side, so you can see what the pension is for police. It's a complete new line item on our side. Heart and hypertension, there is one officer that is a retired officer that we are still viable for heart and hypertension. It's only one officer. This is best guess judgment, just in case there's something happening that has to be for prescriptions or something related to heart and hypertension. And it's just for one officer. That eventually will go away. I don't want to say when, obviously, but it will eventually go away. We may use more than that, we may use less than that, but I think you did best guess judgment on that. We haven't been over that part. And normally, again, this would be on the town side, but it is related to a retired police officer. Telephone system, I didn't get an exact number yet. I went based off what Kevin said. As you know, the phone system that the town has is no longer being serviced by Frontier. They just don't service them anymore, so when they go, they're done. So this replaces the telephone system. I think the town has a line item too for theirs as well. Total proposed budget for you here today is that right there, $3,043,190, which you'll see in your book. Real quick, I won't make it long. 5-year capital. The next 5 slides will be pertaining to that. I always put the 2 vehicles in there. Same thing what we normally pay, $80,000. You'll see the evidence storage building. This is not the building. This is to insulate it and add electrical and the HVAC system. I don't think we're going to have enough in the funds to do it based on price increases. We just have a surveyor that is starting out to survey the land to make sure we can properly put our spot. We had a difficult time locating the, where we have the
Site plan?
what?
The original
Septic plan.
plan.
The site plan and septic, we had a hard time. Leachfield, we couldn't figure it out. We finally got that. We already got approval from
Health
Health
department.
Department. So we're finally moving along on that evidence storage building. Again, if for some reason the board tells me not to replace HVAC, I need to put it in the capital improvement, and I am a big fan of this. I think eventually we need to do this. And it's a digital sign at the PD. The town does not currently have one. Obviously, you know, the schools have one, the fire departments have one. This would replace a digital sign in our building sign at the PD. Next year, same thing, 2 police vehicles and also a pickup truck. The pickup truck is 17 years old, the frame is rotted, it's been fixed plenty of times. It's used for a variety of things, because it does have a cap on it as well. It includes hauling equipment, training, when we do firearms, our ammo all goes back there, our posts, if we have evidence that we can't fit in a regular cruiser, we use it for evidence recovery too. You're saying, well, you have SUVs now. Well, the SUVs are all already full in the whole back, so they have cages. So you limit the size of the object based on the cage, because the cage does not come out. This is just a vehicle lift. If the mechanic needs a lift, he would have to go to the town hall or utilize a local shop if they allow us to use it. This lift would be actually, those are not high enough in the PD to put it in the building. Next year, same thing. The following year, 2 police SUVs, locker room overhaul. I don't know if you noticed, we do have 4 females in the police department. That's the first time we have 4 females in the entire history of the department. Right now, we have 2 locker rooms that are co-ed, but not co-ed. So if a female's using it, she goes inside and she locks the door so nobody else can use it. And vice versa for the other one. If a male goes in, you go and lock the door. Is it the right thing to do? It's what we have. It's all we have. I can't very well put 16 people in one locker room and then 4 in the other locker room. You can't
So
fit.
what are you thinking about doing? Doing the evidence room that you have now, having that be in the building, and then combine the evidence room that you have
I
now?
can't
into
take
the locker
out
room?
all the evidence room that is in our evidence room,
Yeah.
because that gets into another one, because we still need evidence inside the building.
Okay.
But it would reshape it to have proper, so they can be, so they
Yeah.
have, you know, they can have their privacy, so they can have proper privacy. Again, that's on the 5-year capital. Again, the 5-year capital obviously is a wish list, doesn't get funded every single time. Records retention and filing, this is $55,000. We have to keep pretty much everything for a long time, and they're in file cabinets that get stacked on top of one. I know that the town clerk has been looking at a filing system, so we may actually look into that as well. It's kind of like the accordion sliding, kind of like at a doctor's office when you see them sliding and you can move them. We would like to do something with that nature. All-terrain vehicle, this is an ATV. We're trying to find a grant so we can have that and have access to it. Otherwise, when we have that missing person, if we have missing person, there's times where we have to bring in SUVs, the all-terrain vehicles. The town has a gator, but it's at Central Village Fire. Completely outdated, doesn't get through the stuff that we need to do. The following year, just 2 police SUVs, and if you see here, it says the evidence room inside overhaul. And the last 5-year capital is 2 SUVs, and then if you see, I just increased by 2,500 because I'm sure by 4 or 5 years from now that will be increased for vehicles. Who knows what it's going to be? And we had our parking lot resealed last year, I believe. That will put it around 6 years, and we'll reseal it again so we don't lose it. That's not bad. Questions, comments?
On the police vehicle,
Yes, sir.
we replaced, say, 2 a year now.
No, we have replaced that 2 a year.
Right.
I'm not asking for anything different.
I know, but the past 10 years, that gives us 20 vehicles that we
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah.
What happened with all of those 20
So there's
vehicles?
5 vehicles right now at the highway department that the town will be auctioning off. So the Board of Police Commissioners approved the town to auction off those vehicles, and those are going to be auctioned off. So there's 4, there should be 5 of them. There's 5 of them. And there's actually one more that's going to be going there. We just haven't had a chance to unmark it. So we take off the markings. You can't utilize the stuff that's in there, but I don't want to give you, and the state does this, and I don't like it. They give you a vehicle and they're all done with it, but everything's inside it. You know, you're not a policeman, but if you use it to stop somebody, then you're impersonating a police officer, but you can have it. So we take everything out of it. They're they're really no good, but we may get a little bit of money, or the town gets a little bit of money for the general fund. A charger, maybe get a couple grand.
Where the past ones there, where has all that money gone, or what have we done with
I
it?
don't take it, that goes to the town, whatever,
All money.
that's it, yep.
All tax sales like that, any monies go to the general fund.
Trust me, I'd like to use it, to reutilize it to put it back in vehicles. That way we don't have to go. I get it, I understand. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a couple. On your current, on the fleet listing, what are the, it says chief, and then in parentheses it says 6651.
Last four of the VIN.
Last four of the bin.
Yeah.
Does that ever change?
Unless I mess up when I put it in here,
Okay.
but no, there's not.
So-
Things don't change.
But you reassign vehicles. You give them different designations.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
All right, so now how many vehicles did we replace last year?
2.
Okay. Now, last year, we had 8 cars, 8 vehicles listed with over 100,000 miles. This year, we have 3. So how did we make that change? Is that the 5 that are being auctioned? Okay. But the VIN numbers, are they ever identical?
No, I haven't
Okay.
updated my side because I had a few that were off.
Okay, all right, good, because I have a question about one of them here. On traffic 2, VIN number, last 4 digits, 0229.
Yep. And it's somewhere else as well.
That number's somewhere else as well?
It's not supposed to be, it would just be a typo. I try to get the VIN numbers, but we
Okay.
do move them from different things.
Okay, because last year, the vehicle with that number had 159,000 on it.
Yeah,
So this year, it has 137.
so if you see.
Is that an updated one?
Yeah, so this is my
Okay.
crossouts on the errors.
Okay.
And the other vehicles that are listed here.
I just kind of wondered about
Yeah,
that.
so this is going to be updated. I messed up on certain spots.
All right, so.
I had wrong plates. I think I had listed the previous one. I
What's
had
the
2
date on
plates
your,
listed.
what's the date on that one?
This is crayon.
That's crayon.
No, that's crayon. That's my crayon on the bottom.
Okay. All right.
So I have not given you an updated one.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So the one that you have has some errors on it.
Okay.
That's correct.
The other question I have is on this one, page 6. Why is there no pay differential on the dispatchers when they're working different shifts? So they all make the same regardless of what shift they're working. Why is that?
It's a contractual item. Can they get shift differential pay? This is something that would have to be negotiated in the contract.
Well, I'm just, most people who
Yeah,
work
same
third
shift,
shift, you
yeah.
get a little bit more than when people work
I
first.
think if you repeat that one more time, I think Sergeant Brill would also like that as well. Because we don't pay.
Well, I think he'd like your car too.
Oh, I'm sure. We don't pay the officers that work midnights shift differential. Many municipalities do. Many PDs do.
Now, do they work the same shift all the time?
They bid shifts every 3 months based on seniority.
So where are you in the pecking order?
I'll be going to day shift.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't my choice.
Oh, we didn't want
No? You got bumped from his shift.
So right now, including yourself and the deputy, you have 17 active officers.
Correct.
Okay. Is that also, was that,
Our recruit is in there, yes.
that includes the recruit? Okay. And you're wanting to get to 19.
No.
We're budgeting for 19.
Yeah. Let me clarify this. So myself and the deputy chief have individual line items,
Right.
but we are police officers.
Correct.
Okay. In totality, with the deputy chief and myself, this budget would be for 21.
Okay.
We are currently budgeted for 20. We need to refill our 3 vacancies.
Okay. And you have one candidate in the academy.
Correct, and that's counting that recruit.
Okay.
Obviously, there's a lot of variables that can happen. I'm not saying she's doing wonderful, but there's a lot of variables that can happen as a result of somebody being in the captain.
How many new officers have come on board this past year?
3, 4. I don't have a single list.
But we've also lost 3 or 4. Retirement.
Correct. So when somebody retires or leaves the PD,
Yeah.
they have time on the books.
Mhm.
So and they're at different pay scales. When they come and they leave, they have time on the books that need to be paid.
Right.
I need to recoup that pay that we are paying them out. So you leave and you have all this time on the books, I gotta pay you for your time, right? I don't have a place that I can grab that from other than from salaries. So when I do that, we have to recoup that. So that means I can't fill that position in until I recoup that line item.
Now, who handles the interview process for candidates?
What do you mean?
I mean, do you interview them? Somebody?
Yeah,
applies?
it's a whole process.
Okay.
It's
But
multiple.
it's not just you, I'm assuming.
No, not
Okay.
It is filtered from, it's a requirement to have a sworn police officer on the board, oral board. They do an oral board with several officers. Then they do a chief's interview, and then they do a board of police commissioners interview.
Who handles exit interviews?
Great question. I always do an exit interview if they want to talk. The board of police commissioners. Good question.
Anybody else has questions, feel free to jump in. On the administrative assistant, who negotiates that salary?
Me.
And is that considered a union position or non-union?
Non-union.
And you say you have 27 to 30 employees. I'm assuming that includes officers and dispatchers and administration.
Correct.
Are there any other positions that are involved in this?
Custodian.
Who's the mechanic on that?
The mechanic is the town's mechanic. His office is just within the PD. He works
Under the
primarily
highway
on.
department.
What's that?
He's under the highway department.
Correct. He works on all the red car, town hall cars, police cars. The town highway has one station at the highway department. He works on the big rigs.
So this, the budget that you have here for $3,043,198, that's the accurate number.
Unless you see a typo.
What's that?
Unless you see a typo.
Well, I just, when we got to the fuel one, the expenses,
Sure.
that number is. This year budget, line item 10-6201-30, you're budgeted for $75,000.
I don't know the number.
Okay.
What is that?
What's the line?
It's supplies and expense. Now, training went up from 37.2 to 42.2. Yeah, 5,000. But this year's expense, supplies and expense, the budget is 75,
Yes.
but the paperwork says like
Yes.
41, 44.
So that is going to be accounting. So basically what happened is we hired a new officer.
Okay.
There's a state statute in there that if we hire this officer within a certain time, we have to reimburse that municipality a portion of their
Okay, all
training.
right, okay.
So the reason why that it had to come out of that line item and not salaries, so we had to do a line item transfer.
Okay.
They came from where, Iraq or something like that?
Norwich.
Norwich. In Norwich.
I know you're short of officers. Are there any age restrictions?
I hire you tomorrow, Miss. As long as you can pass the background.
Not physical.
I'll bypass that one. Because at his age, there's no set numbers.
Hey, I got the experience.
That's what I'm saying.
You guys experience.
Believe it or not, the oldest person I've seen in his academy is actually in right now. I don't know if it's a record or not. He's 67 years old. He's a retired like doctor, but always wanted to be a cop. And he's actually in the academy right now.
I'll stop for an application.
I can't bypass the physical agility.
I operated the metal detector.
Back for 20 years.
I still like that you and I are going
Just because your age, that's the only reason why. At Mr. Demain's age, it stops. It's only age.
So we do age discrimination then?
Yes, apparently, yes.
There you go.
Well, within a certain age, you actually have to complete different numbers. So from 21 to 30, you have to do more sit-ups, more push-ups, more running, more sprinting. When you get older, those numbers drop. So instead of doing a mile and a half in 12 minutes, when you're 21, when you're 31, now it goes to 14 minutes. And then it keeps breaking the age bracket. But after like 55, it says just do it.
You gotta make it from here to the door in less than a minute. Does anybody else have any questions for the chief?
I mean, so I was looking over the budget, and it looks like you have a huge increase year over year. Like, and again, just looks like $524,000 or something. But from what the slides are saying, from what the slides are saying, approximately $468,000 is stuff that we had approved for the budget last year on the town side. So you're adding what, about $56,000, which is the HVAC, the custodian, and the telephone system.
And the police officer.
And the police officer. Police officer is how much?
57. Change.
Right.
So I think that overall was about 120.
Which would be, okay, the officer, the HVAC, which is dying, the custodian, and the telephone system.
Any other questions from the board?
Well, I was looking at the overtime and special duty pay from Kelly. You do special duty also?
Special duty, not a lot yet.
Because I'm saying your salary, so I wasn't sure if you get paid for that or if that's part of your
Yeah,
part of the salary.
so my contract says departmental overtime. Special duty is not departmental. Actually, I think I actually have the definition of what special duty is. Oh,
Probably having that big old binder
yeah, there too, but I can't look at it. So special duty means police duty for which an employee's wages are paid or reimbursed by an agency or entity other than the department. So the town of Plainfield gets reimbursed when I'm out there. So it doesn't cost the taxpayer $1 for me to be out there this way.
Okay,
Does not come out of the overtime budget whatsoever.
all right.
Well,
There's a very misconception because it's special duty is contract. When I'm out there, if you see me out there, one, I gotta backfill my time, so that way, or take a day off, so I'm not double dipping. Or two, the town's making money. You see a cop out there directing traffic, the town is collecting money. They pay that cop a certain amount, the town takes in a certain amount. I charge $125 per hour to see a police officer out there directing traffic. That is paid by the contractor. That is not paid by the taxpayer. That overtime that you see there is for departmental overtime. That's for major crimes, major cases. I get called in. I've been here all day. We had that death all day. I get paid my salary, just like I'm just here. Today, right now, I don't put in overtime for this. I can't put in overtime for this because this is departmental. That is special duty.
Right.
You want to see a cop out there directing traffic because it brings money towards a pension. It brings money towards the PD. Years ago, we used to take that extra money, and there used to be an account, and that's what we would take vehicles out of. I don't know what happened to that. And then we wouldn't have to come and ask for vehicles, we would just reuse the money that's in that account for vehicles. And that was with the Sousa era or whatever, whether that was right or wrong, but that's how that vehicles got replaced. Because they use it out of the special duty. Special duty is not paid by the town.
It's paid by the company.
Correct.
Okay.
Eversource, BNR, all those trucks that are out there, thousands of dollars to pay for that.
So you're basically, when you do special duty, you're allowed to do that, basically.
Special duty, and also approved by the Board of Police Commissioners.
How does a company find it cost effective to hire one police officer versus 2 flaggers? What is the perceived advantage?
Local traffic authority, the police commission is also the local traffic authority. And designated one of us to do that because we meet every day. So we mandate, and there's also an ordinance too that allows the chief to mandate. So regardless,
Well, I mean, maybe I'm not asking the question the right way. A company comes in and they need traffic support. They can hire 2 flaggers,
no.
but the ordinance says they have to hire a cop.
Not only that, the local traffic authority says it, so
Okay,
it's done.
all right.
So we say you hire a cop, but if you can't fill it, you may hire a flagger. They would save money from a flagger, 100%, but you gotta remember
But
that
they can follow
flaggers,
the ordinance, and if you don't have the availability, then they have the option of, okay. Thank you.
A flagger, certified flaggers are at $44 an hour. So you had 2 flaggers, obviously, one top is more than that. But in the case of the town, because I do work on a road in town too, if they can't supply a cop or
Yeah.
get one there that day, then we use our flaggers. If not, then we pay for the cop. And we budgeted into in our job because it's just the way it works.
Well, it makes sense now that you've explained it that way, that the ordinance exists, that they have to have a police officer unless one is not available.
but you also gotta remember the local traffic authority.
Yeah.
Is it easy to get the flaggers?
Actually, I hired my own.
Serious shortage.
There is. I hired, I put flaggers on my own payroll because I couldn't get flaggers. Sometimes I have my flaggers, when they're not on the road, they're in the shop sweeping the floor because they're just, they're flaggers. I don't want to say just flaggers, but they're flaggers. Their skill set is flagging.
So you pay them the same rate when they're sweeping floors?
Flaggers? I pay them right around $24, $25, depending on what it is. If it's a rate job, they get rate pay. So,
You applying?
Glad I read it.
Chief, when I figured out the gas thing,
The chief's job.
I took the last 2 years,
Yeah.
research, that's how I came up with that 15.5-ish, so that's how I did that.
It's gonna be more this year.
So I know you were at 7,000 gallons in the end of December, so you'd be pretty close to 50, so.
But, you know,
I mean, maybe a little bit
what
more.
I see here is I try to break down line items like within inside the line item, just so you can get a better understanding. Yeah, I may use 15,000 gallons, but now I replaced 7 radiators that I didn't expect to spend. So I try to use that best judgment, and also depending on the fuel cost. If we budget $3.50 and now all of a sudden it goes up to $4, that offsets it.
Well, I came in with a bunch of questions and you answered most of them, so thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions?
I do, because I want to go back to what Adrian just brought up, the line items that got transferred from the town to the police department. It shows an increase here of like 27%. So did you figure out because it's really not, without those, it's just how much of an increase? I saw you.
113,100.
So from last year's budget to this year's
3.7%.
budget, they're asking for how much?
113,100.
Yeah, and what, did you say a percentage?
3.7%.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that, because I thought that's what you were getting at.
Yeah. That's my little scribble.
I saw you, I saw you.
Are there any other questions from the board? If not, then I will entertain a motion that we accept the presentation.
Motion?
We have a motion by Adrian to accept the presentation. Do I have a second? We have a couple of seconds. Ted and Don. All those in favor of accepting this presentation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? All right, motion carries. At this time, I will open up the floor to anybody that would like to address the board, or maybe they have a question for the police chief, if he would be willing to answer them. So, do I have anybody that would like to make comment or ask question?
I'm glad that you see the fact that the budget this year, the increase in it, is because they took the stuff fully from the town. You guys realize that the increase in that in our budget is really not that big.
Anyone else? If not, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, we have a motion to adjourn by Ted, seconded by Adrian. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This meeting is adjourned.